So if you've been following us for a while now, you know that we love to do mower comparison videos. Matt's been doing them for years, and it's very easy for us to do Toro and Bad Boy. Those are the two brands we sell. So no different today. We've got a Bad Boy here and a Toro here. We're gonna do a comparison video, but let's not stop there. We're also gonna add in an Ariens. I've got an Ariens IKON here as well that kind of compares to these two. So we got 3 mowers for you to compare today. And you know, why don't we just do 4? Let's add a 4th in here. We've got a Cub Cadet ULTIMA as well. We're giving you 4 mowers in this video today, comparing these entry-level residential mowers. So without further ado, let's get into it. So if we could get 10, 15 of these residential mowers out here, we would. So this is not meant to be a top 5, top 4, I guess you could say, comparison video. These are just 2 models we sell with 2 models we have on trade that are all around the same class. So I think there's a lot of value in this video. If you're looking for like a top 5 residential, stay tuned. That's one we kind of have in the works. We have a top 5 commercial that's out right now that's been doing really well, and we're trying to get a residential one going too. So that is coming, I promise. But for these 4 mowers right here, kind of what puts you in this class? Well, these are all entry-level residential, like I said. So that's typically small acreage, maybe about a ½ acre up to 2 acres would be kind of the sweet spot for a lot of these mowers. Pretty flat terrain, not too bumpy, not too hilly. That's kind of where you'd find yourself wanting to buy these mowers. The other one would be if you're someone who commonly shops box stores. All of these can be found at box store type locations. So that's kind of the setting for these mowers, where you might be able to find them. Let's hop into what makes each of them different. So we'll start with the Bad Boy and work our way down the line. We'll kind of keep the Bad Boy and Toro a little bit more brief. We actually filmed a recent video comparing these exact 2 models, which we'll link in the description if you want to focus in on these 2 models specifically. But when it comes to Bad Boy, probably the biggest selling feature we talk to people about is the 7-gauge steel deck. So their RAMBLERs, they're entry-level residential, and right away they're giving you a commercial graded deck at 7-gauge steel. So that's a big selling feature for them right there. The other thing I really like is the rubber grass chute. You see you get a rubber chute right there, so it's not gonna break if you chip it against anything or bump into anything while you're mowing. The Rambler's gonna have ZT 2200 transmissions from Hydro Gear. This one comes with a 22 horse Kohler engine. You can also get a 19 horse Briggs engine. That one is single cylinder versus twin cylinder here. And they're very accessible. So you can see the top of the deck flips up super easily. You can blow out your spindles and pulleys. Any sort of maintenance there, it's very easy to do so. The seat flips up incredibly easy as well. And everything's pretty much wide open here for you. So very easy to work on, batteries accessible, easy to do oil changes. That's kind of a big selling feature for Bad Boy as well, their accessibility overall. You can see here for their cutting deck adjustments, they do the dial system. So a couple different brands will do it. Another one that we'll see later, or actually a couple of them do it as well. But you have your foot pedal that releases the deck. You can adjust to your exact height, locks in place. I think it's super easy to use. The Rambler will give you a 2-year unlimited hour warranty, so a little bit shorter compared to some of the other mowers we'll see later on, but a solid warranty nonetheless. Out of the 4 of these mowers, I think what Bad Boy really has going for them is the look and the styling. I just really like the look of the Rambler. I think the front side just has a cool look to it. It looks very stout, and even for an entry-level residential mower, it has the look of something a lot tougher than maybe what the price point says. So speaking of price point, this comes in at $37.49. That option with the Briggs is gonna be a little bit lower. That's at $32.69. So you can save a little money if you go with that Briggs, but this 22 horse Kohler option, which is new to 2025, but retail starts at $37.49 for the Rambler. Continuing down the line, we have our Toro time cutter. So this is a 42-inch time cutter, fabricated steel deck, just like the Bad Boy. They use 10-gauge steel, which is pretty standard. That's still a really great cutting deck for these residential properties. I don't want to make it seem like 7-gauge steel is something you absolutely need. 10-gauge is plenty at the residential level. That's just something Bad Boy's doing that's a little bit nicer of a feature if you're into that. So you have a 10-gauge fabricated steel deck. You see you do have a plastic grass chute, so that's one thing I wish were different on the time cutter, but you have a nice step-through pad right here, so you can step right on the front of the mower to get onto it. For the cutting deck adjustments, you have 1.5 inches up to 4.5 inches. Very easy adjustment with your hand here. There's no foot pedal, nothing. Just a really easy hand lever there, which I kind of like. You can see on the cutting deck, there's no sort of you're not able to access the top of the deck at all. So this is fixed in place. You would be able to remove some bolts right here. And if you take this piece off, you then might be able to, but either way, it's pretty much fixed in place. A little bit less of the overall accessibility. You still have good coverage underneath the seat. So you can see a little bit of suspension with the springs right there. This comes with a 22 horse Briggs engine. There's also a Kohler engine option that Toro offers for you as well. So those ZT 2100s, you're not really gonna feel a speed difference from the 2200s. So I wouldn't say there's a glaring benefit to get a model with 2200 transmissions versus 2100s from Hydro Gear. Toro's also the only brand out of these four right here that offers you a washout port. So I know these can be, I don't know if I wanna say controversial, but there can be some opinions on, are those good for your mower? Are they bad? I've heard that, you know, if you're washing it out, because you can just attach a hose nozzle right here, if you're washing it out after every single use, sometimes that can leave moisture in the deck and rust can form. I've heard people who do it pretty regularly and they say they haven't had any issues. So obviously with Toro putting it on there, they trusted enough to include it as a standard feature, but they're the only ones that are offering that washout port. So on this time cutter, Toro's going to give you a 3-year unlimited hour warranty. So really solid warranty, and kind of that 3-year mark is what you'll see most of those residential brands offering. As for price point, so this model with the Briggs engine, again, 22 horse Briggs engine, comes in at $34.99. So there is a Kohler option that I believe runs at the same price point. It might be a little bit higher, like around $36.99, but this one we're looking at $34.99. And then this is where we get into some of these new mowers that haven't been on the channel yet, being the Ariens and the Cub Cadet. So again, both of these are trade-ins, so they're not ready to sell right now. I know they look a little bit rougher. That's just because they're going through our service shop right now, but they're, I thought, great options to include in this video. So we'll start on this Ariens here. This is what they call their IKON X. They have a standard IKON series. They have their IKON XD as well. So the main difference, they're pretty similar series overall. The IKONs, from what I could find, are almost strictly Kawasaki engine options. This has a Kohler engine. So the X and XD has a Kawasaki option as well. This specific 42-inch just comes with a Kohler engine itself. So for the most part, like I said, they're pretty identical. Interestingly, the one thing I did find different is that the XD series has a smaller gas tank than the standard IKON series, which is a little bit interesting. But if you haven't heard of Ariens before, they're basically a cheaper version of Gravely. So I'm sorry for you Ariens fans out there. I don't mean to say it that way. Maybe you can phrase it a little bit better for me, but that's basically how I learned about Ariens, is from the name of Gravely. So they are associated under the same umbrella as what Gravely are. They're just a little bit more of the price point friendly option of the two, especially at entry-level residential. So the IKON X does have a fabricated steel deck as well. This is 11 gauge steel. So again, we started at 7, 10 to 11. So you can see everybody's got a little bit of their different flavor for the exact thickness of the cutting deck they're putting out, but as long as it's fabricated, you're getting a really solid cutting deck. So I wouldn't be too worried about the 10 gauge versus 11 gauge when it comes to the thickness. Ariens, they have a really obvious parking brake here, so you can see it's very out in the open, very easy to use. You just push it forward to disengage, pull it back to engage. Their cutting deck adjustment is the same as what you see on Bad Boy. So same thing, you have a foot pedal you can release and you just twist to whatever height you want here and it drops down exactly where it's at. So similar to what Bad Boy's doing with the foot pedal and deck dial adjustment. The other nice thing about the IKON X is that this is a model they're putting an hour meter on. So the two previous ones don't come standard with an hour meter. You can add them after the fact, but the IKON X comes with an hour meter standard. The other thing I should mention about Ariens before I go any further is they do have an Ariens Edge, and from what I've been able to look up, that seems like that is their baseline model. The IKON and IKON X might actually be a step up from that, but it seems like the Edge would be their very baseline model, which would kind of fall in line with the Rambler being entry level for Bad Boy, this Time Cutter being entry level for Toro. So the IKON might actually be one step up, but interestingly enough, the price point matches pretty well with what we're gonna see here today. So this actually might be a sneaky value mower for you. So this Ariens comes with a 22 horse Kohler engine. Like I said, a lot of the standard Ariens IKONs, not the XDs, come with a Kawasaki engine, but this will have a 22 horse Kohler, pretty accessible overall. Everything's pretty wide open. The battery's tucked away right here around the gas tank. The gas tank's kind of an odd shape here to kind of fit around the battery. That's kind of interesting. But this will also have ZT 2200 transmission, so same as what you saw in the bad boy as well. And out of the options we've seen so far, I think they kind of do the best job at encasing your engine. So you can see there's a lot of steel pieces that are coming up and covering around the engine. So, but when you compare it to the TIMECUTTER and the RAMBLER, I think this actually has the best coverage out of all of them around the engine. This just helps from sticks and rocks and debris kicking up and hitting your engine, damaging it potentially. So that's a pretty nice feature. So this Ariens has a 3-year, 300-hour warranty. So typically as a homeowner, that 3-year mark's gonna come up before the 300 hours, especially if you're buying this for about an acre to an acre and a half. It's gonna be hard to get to 300 hours before you get to that 3-year mark. But again, it's pretty standard 3-year warranty. As for the price tag on this, it was a little hard to tell overall. Through my research, it was hard to find much about the X. I found a lot more about the standard IKON, but from what I can tell, this is gonna range from about $35.99 to $39.99. So I saw a couple different dealers, a couple different box stores that sell them, and that's around the range I could find for the X series. So you're gonna be right in line with what we've seen so far, but for the IKON X, this 42-inch model with the Kohler, right around $35.99 to $39.99 is probably what you can expect. And then finally we have this Cub Cadet ULTIMA ZT1. So this is actually a 50-inch cutting deck. They do make it in a 42, but for this one here, something cool that they do that's different from what we've seen so far is they put on a light kit. So you can see you have standard lights here on the ULTIMA. That's the first one that offers it. There's no sort of light switch here on the dash, so as soon as you fire up the mower, the lights do come on, so they run off of the battery rather than being a switch you can turn on and off. So Cub Cadet will also give you a fabricated steel deck. You can kind of see a theme here. We at Howe Equipment really like the fabricated decks. The stamp deck options are great, but if you can afford to step up into a fabricated deck, we always recommend it. But this is 11 gauge steel as well. Again, another plastic grass chute, so kind of wish that were rubber, but a lot of brands are doing the plastic. But it does look a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit more robust than some other brands there as well. So this Cub Cadet ULTIMA is gonna come with the deck dial adjustment system as well. So they just put theirs on the left-hand side. So you have the same foot pedal that we've seen, but right here you can see it's on the left-hand side, super easy to drop up and down. I think they have about 15 cutting positions, so you can get pretty specific on this model. When it comes to the steering, one thing I noticed, you have a lot thicker lap bars here. So the grips are a lot bigger, which I can't tell if I like or dislike. It almost feels kind of too big of a grip in the hand, but I'm sure it's pretty popular for a lot of people. I can see why it would be nice to have a little bit sturdier of lap bars, but my personal preference, they almost seem just a little bit too thick for my liking. So if we look under the seat here, you can see pretty similar battery located underneath, gas tank as well. Their little bit of suspension they give you is a little bit different. It's actually these plastic dampeners almost. So I'm a little bit skeptical by them, but you can see they do have a little bit of give if I push down with my hand there. So you can see that it does give you a little bit of support, but they're gonna give you a Kawasaki engine. This is a 23 horse Kawasaki engine. And then this is kind of the back part that gets really recognizable with Cub Cadet because it's their signature 2x2 tubular steel frame. So you can see it's a little bit funkier than what you see with this piece coming above and this around. So this is a completely welded 2x2 steel frame for this entire machine. And it's just a little bit different of a styling than you see on some of those other options when you compare how they're encasing the engine. So kind of cool, a little bit different from Cub Cadet, but they've been doing this on their ZT1 series for years now. You are gonna get ZT 2200 transmission, so same ground speed that we've been seeing overall here. Nice high back seat as well. I like how high the back of the seat is. I think it's pretty comfortable, but they're also putting in an hour meter, so you do get an hour meter as well on this ZT1 that Cub Cadet's doing. The other thing Cub Cadet has going for them is that they give you the largest tires out of this comparison. So these here are Turf Master tires. I really like the tread. Anytime you can get like a turf tire tread, I'm a big fan of it. But these are 20-inch tall tires, so a lot larger than what you're gonna see on these other mowers that we compared here today. Cub Cadet will also offer you a 3-year warranty. Again, this one goes back to that unlimited hour mark as well. As for price point, again, we have a 50-inch here. So a 50-inch runs at $37.49. If you are wanting a 42-inch, just kind of keep it the same as what we've seen. It'll be $34.29. So right in line with the rest of these mowers. So again, to kind of recap, I don't think any of these are bad options. I think you'd be very happy with buying any of these zero-turn options. The biggest thing I would consider is, are you going to buy from a dealership or a box store, and do you have dealer support? If this is something that you're buying from a box store, you might not get that warranty or service after the sale that you would at a dealership. So let's say you've got a Toro dealer locally, but you're really attracted to that Ariens, but that's maybe an hour away or so. You're gonna have to ask yourself, is it worth it to drive an hour to get it if I might not be able to have it serviced locally here? That's the biggest question I would ask. But let us know in the comments out of these four which you would choose. Let us know which ones we're missing. Again, we'd love to have 10, 15 mowers in all these lineups if we could, but these four just worked out really great today. So like and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.